Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm back. um, Let me know if you guys can hear me okay because I haven't been on my setup for a while, so I just want to make sure that you guys can hear me okay. Um, Welcome everybody here, flying SGP, Rick and Don. And the best is in Mexico, Landon. How's it going, Stephanie? How's it going, Cindy? And jet lag 737. Great to see you here. Thanks, guys, for welcoming me back. Today, I'm just gonna go. Thank you very much for letting me know, Stephanie, that I'm good. Um, Today, I'm just gonna get back online. I'm still a little bit in limbo right now, but I kind of disappeared for a couple of months. Actually, some people were asking. Other people kind of know what's going on and have reached out to me. I haven't been able to reach out back or reach back out to you. And if you have reached out to me and I haven't gotten back to you, I apologize. But it's been kind of a rough year, and it's been a rough couple of 3 months. So I want to just kind of catch you up. I didn't forget about the community, but like I always tell everybody, my family comes first, and I don't do this for money. I don't do this for fame. So I have to take care of my family first, and that's basically what's been going on. I've had a rough year. As you guys know, a lot of you guys, especially the people that are in the room right now, my mother-in-law suffered a stroke at the beginning of the year. She was here for holiday. Actually, it happened here in San Miguel de Allende. She was here visiting for the holidays with my father-in-law. And we had a little bit of logistics to figure out. We had them back and forth between San Miguel de Allende and Monterrey. And they ended up back in Monterrey. And probably about a month ago. Well, a little longer than a month ago. It was on my birthday, as a matter of fact. I know that I was celebrating my birthday a little early because I'm waiting. I was waiting, which actually happened a little bit before, but we were celebrating my birthday early because my first grandchild, which was born at the end of November, we were kind of celebrating early because we weren't sure when the baby was coming, and I was going to go go up to Laredo to go visit. It's a baby girl, so I have my first granddaughter. But I haven't been able to go because of everything that's been going on. But we were celebrating a little early, but my birthday actually falls on October 27th. And then we also have a celebration kind of, my wife and I have a thing where we celebrate the whole month. It's our birthday month. So I was celebrating my birthday month, and my father-in-law happened to have passed away on the day of my birthday. The good thing was my father-in-law, for all of you all who don't know my father-in-law, I know that if you've watched some of my videos, I've given some economic opinions. And a lot of my economic opinions came from my father-in-law. My father-in-law was a retired economics professor at the Tech here in Mexico, which is one of the most prestigious private universities here in Mexico. And he was the one that used to give me all my economic advice, and also a lot of the stuff that I came up with about the peso and those types of things. I think one of the last videos or lives that I did is I always used to say that my father-in-law always used to say that it's not about the exchange rate, it's about what you can buy with the exchange rate. Now, that's straight from my father-in-law. That's one lesson he always taught me. So he passed away. We are now dealing with my mother-in-law, and we have her back down here in San Miguel de Allende. At the same time, we had a trip planned to Brazil. It was a bittersweet trip because my father-in-law actually lived in Brazil like I did. And we were going to go to Brazil and FaceTime him from all the places, and we didn't get to do that. We did get to take a little bit of a break, but it was a bittersweet break. we did still go on our trip, and we were able to um, go to the places where my father-in-law had told us to go. And so that's basically why I've been offline. Um, and I haven't been able to respond to a lot of people that have reached out. And I know you guys have been concerned. Haven't been able to reach out because it's just been one thing after another, and it's been crazy. We were, when my father-in-law passed, we had to run to Monterrey, then we had to run back, and then we ran to Brazil, and then we ran back. It was kind of it was a great trip in a sense, but it was also very tiring because we as a matter of fact, I haven't really gotten much sleep in the last 2 months. So, and it's just with everything that's going on. And I apologize if I haven't been online or I haven't said why, but the good thing. Now, I do say my father-in-law passed away on my birthday, but the great thing was we did get to talk to him in the morning before he passed away. And it was a very peaceful, he basically went and took a nap and didn't wake up. So it's a good thing that he didn't suffer. He was already 88 years old. So he lived a good, full life. And, that we're glad for. But it's at the same time not very easy emotionally for the family, and not only for the family, but all the things that come along with. I dealt with my father and my mother's death a couple of years back in 2017, and it doesn't end with just them passing away. There's a lot of logistics and stuff that we have to do. So that's why I haven't been around. I've even kind of been detached from everything going on in Mexico right now, but I decided. And then here's the thing: no sooner do we get back here, get settled in. On Thursday, I have eye surgery, so I really thank you guys for hanging in there. I really thank those. Actually, I've got 13 people here that usually are always on my live streams. I like these small groups, not anything really big. I encourage everybody to come onto my lives. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer your questions and stuff like that. I kind of moved away from the videos and just on the lives every week. I have cataract, so I have to get cataract surgery. But I'm going to have to get one eye done this Thursday and another eye next Thursday. So if I'm not online, depending on how I see, because one eye is supposed to be corrected and the other one still, I don't know how it's going to work. All I know is I need to get my lens replaced because of cataract. I'm getting old, I guess. So, so what I am going to do is hopefully I will come online next week, but depending on how I can see, because they usually do an eye and then they wait 7 days and do another one. So the next 2 weeks I might be tied up recuperating. Now, my understanding is you can take the patch off the next day and it's kind of like having laser surgery. But the problem is I'm not going to be able to wear my glasses because of the correction. And so I don't have no idea how I'm going to see or deal with it for a week until I get the other eye corrected too. I didn't even know the cataracts. I knew they replaced your lens, but I didn't even know that they correct your vision too. So we'll have to see. I don't know. I've never gone through it, so I have no earthly idea. Let's see here. So I'm back. Like I said, I will be a little bit more consistent. I have the family coming in for the Christmas holidays. I also have we're going to have to take, not me, but my wife's going to have to take my mother-in-law back to Monterrey to take care of some legal business. So I'm going to be kind of still in and out. I wanted to touch on the last time I talked to you guys about the changes in the immigration system. I'll go over it really quickly. I'll probably dedicate something to it. But the things are now solid. The changes are now written. down in stone or law now. At the time that I had said there was going to be some changes, yes, a lot of Facebook groups had already started publishing these changes, but at the time it hadn't been approved by the Senate. It had been approved by Congress, but not the Senate. So they were waiting, but now it is. Hey, Robert, how's it going? And welcome, Grigissimo. So it has been approved. So I'll just tell you a little bit about what's the changes now in January. I already went over this UMA change. They're going to use the new economic indicator, but the bad news is they're going to use a new formula. So the financial requirements aren't going to go down. They're actually going to increase, from what I understand, by about 12%. But here's the thing. With the UMA formula or the UMA indicator, they're not going to go substantially after this year or this next year, not this year, and after 2026, we're going to see increases, but the increases aren't going to be as drastic from $2,000 to $4,000 per example, like they were before. So basically, that's the financial requirements are going to go up, but not as much as they've been going up. They're going to stay about the same, depending, and it's also still depending on the consulates. The other thing that I warn everybody, and I don't know unless somebody can come up with a confirmed case, but this bit of this YouTuber out of Merida that says that all you have to do is show that you're retired and show a livable income. Because supposedly there's this law that nobody knows about, and he basically saying that I know about the law because this lawyer told me, who's this lawyer that comes on to his show, and nobody knows about this but me. So watch my YouTube channel. The truth is that the law that he's quoting is the actual law for permanent residency. It's nothing new. It's not a special law. It's not a secret. Basically, what the law states in the immigration law, in order to apply for permanent residency, you have to be retired or of retirement age, or you have to show you're retired. That's true. And you have to show a livable income. Now, the thing that's not mentioned in all of this stuff is a livable income is not what you think a livable income is. A livable income is established by the consulates. So if the consulate says you need $6,000 to get permanent residency, you need $6,000, not $1,000 pension check. And this guy's telling you to go into the consulate and all you have to do is show your pension and your pension check and you're going to get residency. And it's not true. Unless somebody can show me something that they did it, it's not true. And I'm telling you right now, it's nothing secret. It's the actual immigration law, the actual law. I've actually stated it before, the section and everything. You can actually read it. Another YouTuber out of Ahihi basically said he made this great discovery, and he told everybody to take the law down to the consulate and show them the law, that this is the law. The catch to this law is that it says show a livable income, but that livable income is established by the Mexican government. It's not established by you. Just because you can live here on $1,500 a month or $1,000 or $18,000 or $2,000 or whatever your Social Security check is, does not mean that you qualify for permanent residency. Because even though you can live here, and I know it doesn't seem fair, I'm not going to argue. I'm sorry if I'm hitting the microphone here. I'm not going to argue with the fact that, well, you can live here on less than what they're telling you can live here. But that's what financial solvency requirements are for. That is why they have financial solvency requirements. That's what is actually determined by the Mexican government, not you. So to go further, the other thing that is changing is that the immigration fees, when you come here to do your canje, when you basically you go to the consulate, you unless you're an exception, you have a family member that's like you're married, you can go straight to the immigration office. But you go to the consulate when you're applying at the consulate. Um, what you do is you actually go to the consulate, you meet the requirements, they put a foil visa in your passport, and then you take that foil visa and you have 180 days to enter Mexico to complete your immigration process. It's called canje. You come in, you get your visa stamped and everything else, and your passport stamped, and you report to an immigration office to finish the thing. Um, and what they do is you have to actually apply and fill out an application, and then with your passport that you got approved with your visa, and at your appointment, they verify everything, and then basically, depending on where you're at, sometimes you have to come back and get your card. Sometimes your card is available right away. They take all your stuff. So the canje process, like I said, you have to come in after that. So where you have to get qualified is back at the consulate. Now, there is an exception. Let's say you're married to a Mexican citizen, then you can go straight to the INM office and you can apply. Or, for example, let's say you and your wife are applying. You don't qualify because the financial requirements are for each person. And well, actually, they're for one person, and then you have a certain amount for every extra person. You have to show 1,500 more. I think it's 1,500 at a lot of consulates. You have to show that extra income for your wife. Let's say you don't meet that, but you meet the income for your temporary or permanent residency. Then what you do is you can apply for income, and then you can get under family unity. You can apply for your spouse to come in. So basically kind of a sponsorship program. Or you have kids. Let's say you're going to bring children under 18 years old. You're going to bring them to school. You're going to bring your wife. You can actually apply for them here at the immigration office. So when you apply at the immigration office, there's going to be fees, okay? For temporary residency, it's a certain amount. For permanent residency, a certain amount. Those fees are going to go up. They're going to double. I don't remember the exact amount right now. To be honest with you, I haven't been keeping up. There's been a lot of posts in Facebook groups, the Mexico Relocation Guide. If you go to her page, I think she's got a small section on how much they're going up. But basically, they've pretty much doubled. Hey, Laura, how's it going? Great to see you. And so that's basically what has changed in the immigration process. And then the other thing, from what I'm under the understanding, when you pay for your when you fly in and you have an FMM for tourist visa, that fee has increased too. But for most of you, you want to come and live here, so you're going to be applying for residency. Now, have I heard about any other programs that might be coming up, like the regularization and all that stuff? I haven't. But I've always said be open to it, because I'm not saying that Mexico won't do it. There's a lot of political turmoil in the world. I'm not even going to say the United States, but it's just all over the world. Mexico in the past has been very conducive to taking in refugees and asylum and all of that stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if something came up or a new program came up. I'm not saying that it'll happen. I just won't be surprised. I'm just saying because of the situations all over the world. They tried to get everybody legalized with the regularization program. That has gone away. So like I said, that's what's changed in the immigration process. Now, the thing that hasn't changed, and I will encourage people who can meet the financial requirements right now, or if you, let's say I want to retire and I want to live in Mexico and I want to get my residency now. Can I get my residency now and 5 years down the road, go and live in Mexico? Let's say even usually, and here's the thing with permanent residency, some consulates will give it to you if you meet the financial requirements. Some consulates will tell you, no, you're not old enough, even though you're retired. I went with my pension letter But I ended up, because I was married to a Mexican citizen, the consular officer said, it's easier for me to do it this way. But even though I was retired, and also I asked for temporary residency. Long story. I've already told this story to you all a lot of times, but I was asking specifically for temporary residency because of a vehicle that we wanted to bring, and we never did. But one of the things that hasn't changed is that there is no requirement to live here. I know, and from my experience with U.S. immigration in the past, if you had permanent residency and you lived outside the United States for more than 180 days, your permanent residency could be taken away or would be considered void. That is not a requirement here in Mexico. So for all of y'all that you can say, hey, I meet the financial requirements now, I can apply now. You can apply now. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to get but usually with temporary residency, you get a year. Then you can renew it for up to 3 years, and then after 4 years total, but after the second 3 years, you can actually convert it over to permanent residency. So that's a route that you might want to go if you qualify now and you're scared that it's going to go up a certain amount and you're not going to be able to qualify in several years. So there is no requirement, like I said, for you to live here in Mexico. Now, the only thing you have to do is you have to make the time to go to the consulate, make your appointment, and then you have to come here. And then if they say you have to stay here until your process is done. So let's say you come into Mexico and they're not ready, your cards are not ready or whatever it might be. Hey, Gringos Are Us. Great to see you. Thanks for reaching out. And Cindy, thanks for reaching out. And so that's the basic deal. You have to stay here while you're being processed. So, you can't just fly in one day, process your application, and fly out the next day sometimes. Sometimes it happens depending on the immigration office. But if it isn't, you just have to be willing to stay here for a couple of weeks or a couple of days or whatever it takes. I do know some immigration offices have changed policies from one day to the next that you have to, they have to send your application to Mexico City to get it approved. And so let's say it takes 2 weeks, you have to stay here 2 weeks. There is a way of, if you get a facilitator, there's a way, if you need to go back, you have to get a special permission. It's a real pain. But that's basically, in a nutshell, the changes in immigration for next year. So I hope that clears things up. I'm going to go ahead and take questions, and not only that, but questions, but comments. Robert Farias is going to be applying for. Oh wow! Congratulations, Robert. Hopefully you'll be in the permanent residency club pretty soon. Yeah, I saw that YouTuber from Merida. I believe his name is Jose Artiago. What a misprint. Yeah, and the worst part about that YouTuber is that he actually started off this whole thing with, I'm gonna all that misinformation out there, all that he's the one that was giving misinformation. I just want to make sure the problem that this creates, and I know that a lot of people have, gotten really excited with this special thing that he said. Actually, it started out with Tangerine Travels. People have been going to the consulate and demanding their residency and saying that I have a livable, and here's the law, and you better give me residency. And I know that a lot of Mexican consulates don't appreciate it. I think it's a shame. I will tell you right now, Jose makes a living off of this. I'm not saying I don't blame him. I don't condone what he says and does. I don't condone what he says and does, but I have to say that that's his job and business. And whether he chooses to do it the right way or the wrong way, I won't. But he is a hustler. I mean, and I don't mean hustler in a bad way. I mean hustler, and he's hustling, trying to. But the problem is in an effort to be the one that knows everything, and only talk to me and only pay me and give me money. That's unfortunately that kind of information gets out, and the next thing you know, it's not fun. It's not fun for the person who's trying. It's not fun for the person who gets their hopes up really high and goes to the consulate only to find out that they're not going to get it. And it's not fun for the people that think that this is really true. So, and he does place some disclaimers, and the lawyer that comes on does place some disclaimers. It's up to the consulate. That's the catch. But it's sort of like giving you a false hope when there's no hope to begin with. Hopefully there is. Now let's see here, Rick. When I used the regularization program last year, I was able to get my temporary, but their machine was broken. It took 3 weeks before they could print my card. Just have to be patient. Yeah, Rick. And that happens. And also there was some issues too, where they were sending some applications up to Mexico City to get approved. And I do know that at one time, it wasn't, they just didn't have enough cards like to print out. I think that was your case, Rick. They didn't have enough cards to print out. Or you said the machine was broken, but at one time in San Miguel where you did it, they were running out of cards to print out. So, okay, Robert, since you are taking questions, can you update us all on the FMM process, please? And also, would you suggest we do it online, as my case, since I'll be flying in? Actually, Robert, the FMM process hasn't, well, they went to the new process that they're on right now. It hasn't changed. I flew out on the FMM process and flew back in. Now, what they have done, and they've changed it, and it's gone back and forth. And some people, I still see people complaining about the 180 days. And I know that you're asking also pretty much standard now that flying into Mexico, we can get 180 days. Really, to be honest with you, it's kind of a yes and no answer about the 180 days. The 180 days, there was a law that was passed a couple of years, was it last year? I think it was, I think it was last year or the year before, where they wanted to expedite people through the airport. So the law basically said you can use electronic means. They were giving immigration a mandate to get people through the airport. What that created was an automatic system. Basically, they scan your passport when you come in, and they pretty much stamp it. There's no more paper FMM that you fill out. And actually, Robert, you won't need to fill out anything before online because it automatically, they just scan your passport, they stamp your passport, and put the number of days on. Now, I have gotten some word from the Querétaro airport that people have asked for 180 days, and they get 8 days or 10 days or whatever. It's still happening, but more than likely, they don't require, I'll get to that, Gringos or Us, but basically they just let you in with a stamp and write your number of days on the FMM process. And so usually it's an automatic 180 days. I'm just going to tell you because the computer, they just stamp, okay, boom, yeah, go through. There are cases where people are making multiple entries and going back and forth every 6 months or every 180 days, and they're basically an immigration officer saying, "No, this ain't the case." So when you need to go back home, another thing that's killing people is when they don't have any return flights or return or hotel reservations, those types of things. An immigration officer may say, "You know what? You're only getting 14 days or whatever it was." Or if you actually have a vacation that you're going for 14 days, they give you the 14 days. But for the most part, for the sake of getting people through the line pretty much everybody gets 180 days. If I hope I answered your question, Robert. I don't want to say it's automatic because there's a lot of people that get stuck in that it's automatic, and then, I only got 15 days, and everybody told me it was automatic. So that's basically, but it is for the most part on automatic 180 days. Okay. Actually, Robert, this is one of the things I asked because I have a reservation at Airbnb for 6 months and my flight is already scheduled to fly back. Those are the types of things they look for. Okay, I'm going to be here for 180 days. Here's my Airbnb reservation. But what's happening where they don't give the 180 days is someone just flies in on an open ticket, one-way ticket. Okay, where's your Airbnb reservations? Oh, I don't have any. Or I have one for a week, but I'm going to find another Airbnb. Those are things that actually I had this conversation on the Querétaro group, and they were like, this is not just, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, look, if you don't have a return flight, this isn't for living here. It's for the purposes of tourism. And people, those are things that an immigration officer looks at and says, hey, wait a second, you don't have a return flight. And I'm not talking about just Mexico. I'm talking about the United States. A person with a visa still goes into the United States and has to, if they go north of 60 miles into the border, they have to actually ask for permission if they have a visa. And what does the immigration officer say? How much money do you have on you? Where's your reservations to stay here for 90 days? So Robert, you shouldn't have a problem. Those are the things that are flags. When you don't have a return flight home, when you don't have an Airbnb reservation, those are the things that will trigger a lot of these 14 days or 7 days or whatever you see. So, in Querétaro, they don't require that we stamp anymore. Yeah, actually, gringos, I've flown out of Querétaro. They no longer require. Here's the thing with you're talking about when you leave as a temporary or permanent resident. Usually you have to get stamped out, and then when you come back in, you get stamped back in. And Querétaro changed, and actually I knew this was changing. A lot of the airports are becoming automated and connected with the airlines now. So, and Querétaro is one of them. And Querétaro is now connected to the airline. So when you check into the airline, it automatically sends a thing to immigration saying that you're checking out. And then when you come in, you're already in the computer that you checked out. I will tell you right now that I flew out of Mexico City just recently. I went to Brazil, and I had to still check in with INM. They still have an INM booth there in the right as you pass security. But technically, the system is supposed to eventually become automatic where you won't have to check out. And for those of you who do have residency, that if you're flying out of Querétaro, you don't have to go to the immigration booth anymore. You just go to the ticket counter. They check you. Basically, the airline's checking you out in place of that. The last time I flew out of Querétaro, I still had to go to the immigration booth. But when I asked them, do you stamp my passport? No, we don't do that anymore. And it went from that, from what I understand, from what I'm seeing, is that they went from that to actually I have a friend that flew out of Querétaro after that. And he was asking me what happened, how did they do you? And I said, well, I still had to go, but go to the ticket counter because everybody's saying that you don't have to do it anymore. You don't have to check out anymore. So, that's the deal with, but eventually the idea is that you eventually won't have to check out at all. The reason for checking out and checking in, when you leave Mexico, technically when you're a resident, you have to check out and check in. It's for purposes of statistics. Also, like, for example, like me that wants to apply for citizenship later, I can't have been out of the country for more than 5 years. Remember how I said you don't have to live in the country, but at the same time, if I'm applying for citizenship, there's a prerequisite. So if they know you've been out of the country for more than 180 days in the last, it's not 5 years, I'm sorry, for more than 180 days in the last 5 years, then they can say, I'm sorry, we can't give you citizenship. And that's the way they track it. just for example, so if I left for Brazil for 7 days, that means I've been out of the country 7 days. So that's my clicker on my last 5 years. I can't have been out of the country more than 180 days. So that's the reason why they check you out. It's not a I don't know how to say it. It's not a serious violation of the law. It's just that it's for statistical purposes, and then you might have some issues when you come back, and them asking why. You had to, when you left in July, you had to check out and get a stamp. Actually, Bess is in Mexico. You went through the Puerto Vallarta airport, so that might be a little bit different. I know that Querétaro has changed. For some reason, the Querétaro airport, which is the one I fly out of, I don't know why, but they usually had a lot of the systems before everybody else. Yeah, that was in PV. Yeah. Okay. And I know that I had to, because specifically, we rode the bus to Mexico City, and I specifically had to check out with INM. But they have a little booth there, and you just show them your boarding pass, and then they just stamp my passport. Yeah, and also always give them their residency card first when you return. Yes, and actually, I do know in Mexico City, I don't, in Querétaro, it's just one line. You just go, everybody goes through it. But in Mexico City, I was able to go through the same line that Mexican nationals go through, not the tourist. Actually, that also helps too, to make sure that they don't stamp you in as a tourist. What I would do when you're coming back from the United States, and there's a line for Mexican nationals and there's a line for tourists or extranjeros or people from other countries, go through the Mexican line. If they get mad at you, oh well, I'm sorry, this is the way I do it everywhere else, and I'm a permanent resident. You're afforded the ability to go through the nationals line. In Querétaro, that's not as much of a big deal. Mexico City, it is when you come in through Mexico City. The lines are usually slower and longer than the international line. And also, when you're coming through the national line, you have a reason, because I'm a resident, and you give them your resident card. So there's no confusion. Because if you go through the tourist line, or where all the tourists goes through, and I'm just saying this, this is not a knock on the Mexican government, but let's say your process, I'm just going to put you in the immigration services, the immigration officers. Let's say I'm stamping tourist passports all day long. Tourist. And even though you give them your residency card, I'm just, next tourist. So you might end up with not a mistake. Okay, I'm not even saying they're going to do it on purpose. I'm just saying, if you're marking tourists all day long, you're more apt to make the mistake of checking someone in as a tourist. And usually on your passport stamp, it'll be RT or RP, which means residente temporal or residente permanente. And that will be on when they sign your little thing on your stamp. And if they don't put that, don't be scared to ask. Like, did you check me in as a tourist or not? Oh wow, you got chewed out in Monterrey. Well, I guess you know what? Everywhere's different. Actually, to be honest with you, if I came in through Monterrey, I'd probably go through the Mexican national line myself, and just take the chewing out. But thanks for letting us know. I'm not, and the only reason why I say that is, like I said, I'm sorry. This is the way I do it in Mexico City all the time. This is where they make me go every single time, and apologize and be very nice about it. And Monterrey, the other thing, Gringuísimo, you need to understand in Monterrey is a little bit different, because Monterrey is a little bit closer. It's only 2.5 hours south of the Mexican border. So let me just put it this way. What they do in Monterrey, they don't do in a lot of other places. Monterrey is a very different animal, and I know that from coming from there. There's a lot of things they do in Monterrey that they don't do. Even the immigration process. I went through the immigration process in Monterrey. Let's just say this is no knock on the culture, but Monterrey, the individuals from Monterrey are known as what we call regios. And regios like to think of themselves as different than the rest of Mexico. That's kind of a cultural thing. So you might have caught in a bad thing where, hey, no, we don't do it like that over here because we're different. We're from the north. It could have been that, or that might be I do know that I checked out of Monterrey once to go to San Antonio, and I know I had to go to another terminal, literally to another terminal to check out because they didn't have an immigration office right there. And then I was sitting there for like an hour. So they do things a lot different in Monterrey. So I'm talking a little bit more for the central part, for the big parts where like Quintana Roo, Baja, those areas treat a little bit different. So I apologize if they give you a hard time, but thanks for letting us know. Like I said, I always go through the national line. In Querétaro, I always take the night flight, the last flight in that gets in at 11 o'clock at night, and usually it's only one immigration officer stamping everybody. So she then accused me of her telling previously. She just grumbled when I told her it was my first time in Monterrey. All's well that ends well. She did stamp me RT. Yeah, you know what? Like I said, it might have been a cultural thing. You might have caught her on her bad day. But I go through the mix. And the reason why I do that, and it has nothing to do with, getting in the front of the line or anything like that, is because they're checking you in and it's a different process, and actually break their rhythm. Gringos are also saying break their rhythm. The thing you have to understand about the tourist lines, they're a lot longer than the Mexican national lines most of the time. And the object in the tourist lines is to get people through as quickly as possible. Actually, that law that I told you that was passed, I think they wanted to reduce the wait time to less than 15 minutes. So technically, you're trying to get everybody through in less than 15 minutes. Now, I know some of you are going to come back and go, oh, no, I was in line for 3 hours the last time. I understand that, but the goal is to do that. So if the goal is to get everybody through in 15 minutes, especially like in Cancun and everything else, you can imagine you're going to have an official that is bound to make a mistake. Why? Because they're trying to get everything through. And actually, it's a good thing for some people that are trying to get 180 days, because maybe they might not see the flag in the computer, or maybe there's a flag in the computer that says, hey, don't give this person 180 days gain. But maybe they don't see the flag in the computer because they're so busy trying to get people through. So maybe that's a good thing for those people that are coming and going every 6 months or every 180 days or whatever you might say. But at the same time, if you have residency, it can be a bad thing because they can technically check you in as a tourist. And that does happen. So, like I said, that's why I always go through the Mexican line. And if they say anything, here's my residency card. That's where I always check in, like you did, Gringuissimo. And, be nice. I've been, to be honest with you, I've been bawled out by Mexican officials. I've been told, why did you do this? You know what? 90% or 99% of the time, I apologize. I'm sorry. I don't know the process. I'm just trying to do the right thing. Can you give me some guidance? You know what? I'm sorry. I won't happen again. You know what? 99% of the time, they're fine. It's when you start giving attitude when you have a problem. And actually some of these people that say, I only got 14 days. You know what? When you start digging deeper into the situation, then you find out that they talk back, they demanded, they had a bad attitude, all of that stuff. And all of that, you got to remember, an immigration officer has the authority to let you in or not let you in. Okay, that's the immigration officer's authority. That is the bottom line. There's, yes, there might be a policy that they have to follow, but the law basically says they are the ones that decide whether you get, how many days you get. Okay, punto, point taken. So that's where, oh, well, you're rude to me, I'm going to give you 7 days. That's what ends up happening a lot of times. It even happens in the consulate too. So you got to remember the consulate officer has the full discretion whether to approve you or not, even if you meet the requirements. When I've flown into New Jack, when I've flown into Guadalajara, you were not given the opportunity to offer an explanation about anything when deciding how long they're going to give you. All they want is your ticket. Yeah, a lot of times, New Jack, like I said, they want to see a return flight. Do you have a return flight? As a matter of fact, I'm going to give you an example, and so that you guys will understand here. Let me take a drink of water real quick because of my. I'm going to give you a perfect example of Brazil, okay? And I just went to Brazil. This is the first time I've traveled to Brazil without a diplomatic passport. I had my regular passport. Even under a diplomatic passport, I had to have a diplomatic visa, okay, in my diplomatic passport. But Americans are required to have a visa. Mexicans are not. Mexican citizens are not. So I was required to apply for a visa. Now, what's great about Brazil now is it's totally electronic. Their whole system is electronic. I applied for a visa. I got it totally online. I had to print it out, and I had to go to Brazil with my visa, okay? When I got to the airport in Mexico City, the first thing they asked me for, and not immigration, okay? The airlines asked me, let me see your return reservations. And I was like, I know why. The reason why is that, of course, we were going for so many days. I had a visa, multiple entry visa, but the airline is also, in many instances, in many countries, held liable. So if the airline lets me get on, knowing that I don't have any return to get back or to come back, the airline, can be held responsible. The immigration service or the government can hold the airline and fine the airline. So the airline had to make sure I had a ticket coming home. Okay. And when I went and presented myself to the immigration officer, that's what they wanted to see. Let me see your ticket. Okay. You came in on this flight. Where's your return ticket? Okay. Now, I didn't look at my passport stamp, to be honest with you, because they just stamped me in, but I assume they gave me until the date that's normally how they do it. And New Jack, that's probably what happened to you. They just want to see, let me see your ticket. Are you going back home? Are you not? But at the same time, New Jack, just because you don't have a return ticket doesn't mean they're not going to give you so many days. But a return ticket for an immigration officer, that shows you have the intention of going back. You're not going to live in that country. You are going to come to visit. What people need to understand about the FMM, and I'm going to tell people over and over and over again, the FMM is for purposes of tourism. It's not for digital nomads to come here and keep coming here every 180 days. It's not for someone to live here and keep going to the border and then coming back for every 180 days. It's not for people to abuse the system. It's for people to come and visit. That's specifically stated in the law. You're coming as a tourist. You're not coming here to work online. You're not coming here to live. And I know people have abused the system. And in a lot of cases, in some cases, the immigration officer says, enough is enough. You're not getting in. Or you're only coming in for 7 days to go get your stuff and go home. So you have to remember that. We're gonna miss you at this year's meet and greet. Actually, Gringos Are Us. I'm gonna miss going there. You know what? I have a wedding that we have planned. Actually, they're friends of my in-laws. and very good friends of my in-laws, and we promised to go to this wedding. I don't even know if we're going to go to the wedding, and I know that we were going to stay in Tulum for a couple of days. We're still planning on going, but we might end up having to stay here given the personal situation we're in with my mother-in-law and everything else. So we're still kind of up in the air right now. Robert, I heard of a Colombian guy that flew into Mexico City and was denied entry, even though he had hotel reservation. What would have been the reason? Being able to show he had the financial means. Actually, Robert, I have no idea, or return flight. Now, I don't know if maybe he didn't have a return flight. The other thing too, I'm not, I don't want to stereotype any. You said it was a Colombian person. It could be anybody, but a lot of times people go with a little bit of an attitude, and when people, you got to remember, the immigration officer might start asking you questions. Maybe in the way you answer the questions, maybe in the evasiveness of the questions, maybe, hey, how long are you going to be here? Yeah, it says on the ticket. How long? Where's your hotel? It says on my hotel. Here's my hotel. When you start giving attitude like that, a lot of times, I hate to say it, but like I said, the immigration officer has the authority to say no. Okay, and it might not sound fair. But that's the way it goes. You might have caught him on a bad day. You might have caught him on a bad day. He might have caught him on a bad day. And we don't know the whole situation. I do know that some people go in there with an attitude that you just need to, why the hell are you asking me questions? I mean, I'm not kidding you. I've seen this before. I mean, I've actually seen it with my own eyes when people say, well, why the heck do you need to know? You don't need to know where I'm staying. You don't need to know why I'm coming. You don't need to know. Well, yes, they do. Okay. That's my privacy. And I see this a lot in Americans. Okay. I value my privacy. I understand that you value your privacy, but in order to keep your privacy, you also got to realize that you might not be entitled to certain things. Okay. I'll give you an example. In Brazil, everything's biometric. Literally, I went to a soccer game. My face was my ticket. Okay. A lot of people might not like that. I don't like giving up my biometric information. Okay. That's fine. But also remember, okay, also remember that if you don't give up your biometric information, you don't get to go to the game. Okay? That's the price you pay for your privacy of not giving up your biometric information. Okay? That's your choice. Okay? And if my choice was to give up my biometric information to the Brazilian government, which, I don't live in Brazil, but if that's your concern, then you don't go to the game. You can't have your cake and eat it too. And that's the same thing here when you come in through immigration. I'm just using the biometric because actually biometrics is going to become, the United States is fingerprinting everybody coming in. I'm not talking about U.S. citizens, but I'm talking about people coming in on visas, or even if you don't need a visa, you're getting fingerprinted and your picture taken. Biometrics is the next new thing, okay? You can't ignore it. It's coming. Actually, Mexico is going to require a biometric ID. No longer is going to be your voter ID. It's going to be an electronic CURP. It's still up in the air whether residents are going to need the electronic CURP, but that's going to be your national ID now. And it's all your biometrics. Actually, your RFC now, my RFC, they took all my biometrics to get an RFC. So just remember, that's your, like I said, that I see that all the time. And the other thing we need to understand when we hear these stories about, I only got 7 days, I only got 14 days, I only got, a lot of times there's a little bit more to the story than meets the eye, or then the poster is actually saying. So giving direct while having the deer in the headlights lost gringo look helps too. Yeah, it does. Very true. It has worked many a times for us. Yes. So, I mean, I think the point is just being nice, courteous to the officials and everything else. I don't know. What's the saying? I don't even remember the saying. A little bit of honey will get you a long way. Or what's it? I forgot the saying in English. It's about, this has something to do with honey. Honey gets you a little bit further than no honey at all or whatever. So that's just basically the point. Being nice, being polite, and actually sometimes being lost, being polite. I mean, and I'm not talking about, because you might be lost. Sometimes that not only honey works better than vinegar. Yes, thank you. That's the saying. And you know what? Sometimes I've had issues where I'm like, please, I'm lost. Tell me how to get here, or tell me what to do. And you know what? Even in processes, I'll even give an example. I went down to get my license plates done, and I didn't have and I'm like, what do? I don't have because here in San Miguel, you need it under or catch more flies with honey. Yep, that's another one. I remember. And I told the official, because what had happened was I was trying to get the plates registered in my name, but the electricity bill was not in my name, but you need it in your name. Long story short, and actually I had another person that I helped him out because he was renting and he didn't have anything in his name. And I told her, what do I do? Because I don't have, and then they had done a little form. It's a long story where my wife gave that we were married and everything else. And it was a legal document and everything. But the problem is our marriage certificate here in Mexico doesn't have her second last name. So she says, I can't accept it. And I'm like, what do I do? And she goes, she looks around. She goes, go get a driver's license, because we accept driver's licenses as proof of residency. I'm saying, but aren't I going to have the same problem here with that? No, all you have to do is show an electric bill. Just go get a driver's license and come back. And actually I did. And the same lady attended to me. Oh, now I can take your document. But it was because I was nice, because I was accommodating, because I wasn't upset, because she told me I couldn't have my my license plate. It took me an extra day, but she told me what to do. And it got me, a little bit of honey takes you a long way. That's another one. And that's the bottom line. And sometimes that helps when you, and I've even known people that, oh, well, I only want to give you 14 days because you don't have that. Well, please, come on. I don't know what I really don't. The reason why I only have a 14-day reservation, people have done that before. I'm not saying it's going to work for everybody, but it does help to be, it does help to be nice. And actually, Gringos R Us, you have a great point. And I actually have used this. This is actually something that's taught in, it's taught in the CIA. It's taught in federal law enforcement. If you give people a reason to help you, they normally do. And this is a psychological, that you're giving me right now, Gringos R Us. We use it in a little bit different context. The CIA uses it in a little bit different context, but it's kind of making the person feel like they're important and helping you and everything else. A lot of times that actually helps to get to the desired effect. And actually there's a guy named Bustamante that was an ex-CIA officer that he actually talks about this in a couple of his videos, that the CIA uses those techniques to persuade people. If you make a person feel good about them, that they're helping you, or that they're important, or that you care about what they think, not what you think, usually it's a better dialogue per se. So I'm coming up on an hour. Like I always say, I like to keep it at an hour. For those of you who want to stop in and you didn't get a chance and want to watch the live stream, hopefully I'll be back next Monday. I'm trying to stay away from Sundays because of football season. If I can come back next Monday, if not, I will be back the following Monday. I should have both my eyes done. And someone made a good. I forgot who. I would have to scroll up. What says, just take the lens out of one of my eyeglasses, and that might be what I have to do. So if I do come out next week with one lens missing, that's why. But we'll see you soon. Thank you everybody for your support. I know that I have had we did get up to a good amount of people today, and thank you guys for supporting me. Like I said, thank you all for supporting. And I forgot about Monday Night Football. Thank you, but thank you for supporting me. For all of you all that did reach out, thank you for reaching out. I'm sorry I couldn't get back to you. My phone has been going crazy with either messages, emails, all sorts of other things that I have to do. Sometimes, like I said, I just turned 60. I don't know if that's a good excuse, but sometimes I got to get back to this person. I got to get back to this person. And then all this stuff keeps going, and I don't get back. And I'm sorry if I don't, but I really do appreciate it. I really do. Thank you all for being supportive. We'll see you. I'll think of a good, and if you guys can think of a good theme for next live, just reach out and let me know, or leave a comment in this video, and I'll address it. Thank you guys, and until next time, like I always say, the most important thing is to stay safe, and even more important is to stay informed. Thank you very much for joining me tonight, and I really appreciate your support, and we'll see you. And until next time,